Hey, 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 hey. Welcome, y'all. It's so good to be here. Happy Wednesday. Happy end of July. Just tuning in, taking a moment to arrive. Today, I want to talk about trust. In particular, self trust. Trust in self. Trust in your decisions, trust in your mastery, trust in your awareness, trust in your preferences, trust in your decisions. This is something that I didn't know much about, frankly. I think a lot of people don't know much about it. There's something missing in our cultural rituals around growing up that sort of interrupts the process of really claiming, yeah, I know this is my life. I know how to choose. And in my life, that showed up as asking literally everybody and their mom for advice on just about every decision that I made. And let me be clear, I was an incredibly high functioning human. So it's not like I don't think anyone was like looking at me and thinking like, oh, she's so insecure, she doesn't trust herself. But that's underneath was this deep, deep, deep confusion, ambiguity, uncertainty, fear, really. So I was thinking about how to talk about this with you guys. And what I realized is that, in fact, I want to focus this conversation on one of my teachers, one of my mentors, David Nagel, and his team, primarily his CEO, Steph Tuss. Because I think that it is really, my relationship, my coaching relationship with them illustrates how this changed. And I want to share that process and shout them out in the process. See? A little technical moment. They'll need these technical moments, kind of like body moments, like we need our bathroom moments, real moments. So I met David Nagel 4 years ago exactly. And this would have been kind of the peak of this time in my life. Living as an adult, I had a wonderful coach, Marla Mattinson, who introduced me to David. And I was just beginning my business and very uncertain. How do I make money? Who's the right client? When do I say yes? When do I say no? I had thousands of questions, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of questions. And every question that I had, I wanted to ask at least 2 people about, if not 20. And by the time I met David, I had kind of figured out that I needed to be more selective about who I asked questions to, but I still wanted other people to tell me what to do. I still wanted other people to tell me, this is the path for you, Jesse, go this way. Anybody relate to that? I don't think I'm the only one here, but just checking in. Anybody else like have the experience of feeling like you need to look outside yourself for answers? Even if you've already like got a hypothesis, it just would be nice if someone else other than you that you trust would be like, yeah, do that. That's the right decision. It was connected to approval seeking, but it was deeper than that. And honestly, until like the last 2 weeks, I wouldn't have known even to language it this way. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust that I knew. I didn't trust that I could make decisions on my own. I didn't trust that it would be okay if I made a decision and it wasn't perfect. So I was also trying to protect myself, right? So I worked with David pretty much from that moment 4 years ago for the last 4 years in one program or another. I've invested almost $500,000 in working with David in those 4 years. Worth every penny. one of the first things that he said to me was, "You have a really solid foundation. Trust yourself." You have a really solid foundation. Relax. Hi, Rukmini. Hi, Wolf. Hi, Erica. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You guys are with me. So I didn't trust myself yet, though, but I trusted David. And David trusted me. So I had this kind of scaffold to, distract myself from my own mistrust of myself, but ultimately create the same result. So I would say for the first year of knowing David, that's what I did. Those of you that are just joining, I'm talking about one of my most important teachers and mentors, David Nagel. David trusted me to make good decisions for myself and my business and reflected that over to me over and over and over again. About a year into our working together, he started refusing to tell me answers, actually. He was like, "Jesse, you're the coach. You decide. Jesse, you're the CEO. It's your business. What do you want to do?" That was so uncomfortable for me. What? You're not going to tell me every step? What do you mean I have to decide? What? Like, I knew he was right, but it was so massively uncomfortable to feel like I was being sent out on my own. And literally, as I'm telling you the story now, I'm picturing this like scene of me going on Vision Quest or something like that. Like, if I had had a proper sending off as an adolescent, right? Maybe I could have figured this out before 40. I turn 40 next week, so I'm like, yeah. This is long time coming, but right on time. But obviously, like, I moved to New York City. I went to graduate school. I did all kinds of things on my own, but in this deep internal way, I had not yet claimed myself. And David kept kind of swatting me back to myself. You decide. You decide. You decide. And then after I made my decisions, then we'd talk about it. We'd talk about what happened. So it's not like he just abandoned me to go off forever. It was that he held the boundary that he wasn't going to make my choices for me. David and I ended our, I should say not ended, but completed our coaching relationship just last month. This was a big time of honoring and celebrating him and our work together. And this month of July is the first month that I have not had him as my coach for all those 4 years. And it is the highest grossing month of the business so far. The ending of this particular coaching time phase of our relationship, it's not that I am done learning from David. It's that I trust myself to be on my own, that I'm ready to be on my own and continue to grow, continue to skyrocket, continue to serve. It doesn't mean that I don't have tons of support. I still have tons of support, but specifically with David. David helped me grow up. He helped me develop resilience to face contrast, to face discomfort, to face, frankly, like, I would say that the experiences that I had that got me from not trusting myself at all to now where I'm full on for myself. They happened in the hardest moments. They happened in the moments where it felt like everything was falling apart and I was going to die. In those moments, it was like I couldn't hold on to anything else but me. I couldn't lean into anyone else but me. I kind of had to find the strength in me. And then on the other side, as I stepped past whatever the challenge was through, then on the other side, I knew I had done that. I knew I had supported myself through that. I know that I was with myself. So I want you to take a moment and just like zoom out and reflect. How are you showing up for yourself? Because let me tell you, I missed the memo. Like, I've been trusting myself for a while now, but I hadn't celebrated it. I hadn't acknowledged it. I hadn't fully seen it. And having seen it, I'm like, oh, now the game has changed, y'all. Get ready. Jessie on her own team and knowing it. How much do you trust yourself? How do you show up for yourself when things get hard? This doesn't mean that you always have the answers. It just means that you know you will be with yourself. Some of you guys may remember this. I got obsessed with Alicia Keys for a minute there. And that was during a time when, like, one of the most contrasting moments in my life. One of the things that I would have avoided. I would have paid any sum of money. I would have done anything to avoid this. But here it happened. Really, really, really uncomfortable, difficult thing. And in the midst of that contrast, I rediscovered Alicia Keys' song, No One. And I sang it, I belted it. It's like right in my range. It feels really good to sing. It's like got that kind of anthem feeling. So it was like feeling good. And then I just started listening to the lyrics and it was like, wait a minute. And I sang it to God. And I sang it to Shri in my mind. And then I was like, hang on, I can sing this to myself. I just want you close where you can stay forever. You can be sure it will only get better. You and me together, self, through the days and nights. I don't worry because everything's going to be all right. People keep talking. They can say what they like. Their opinions, their suggestions, their advice. But all I know is everything's going to be all right. And no one can get in the way of what I'm feeling. No one can get in the way of what I'm feeling for you. When the rain is pouring down, when the contrast is thick, when things are rough, and my heart is hurting, you, higher self, deep self, true self, will always be around. This I know for certain. You and me together through the days and nights. I don't worry. I don't worry because I trust myself. Do I trust God? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. That's very helpful. Do I trust David Nagel? Yes, absolutely. Do I trust his CEO Steph Test? Yes, yes. That was all scaffolding for me to experience trusting myself in this unconditional way. No one can get in the way. No one can get in the way. I've made cold calls. I've been rejected. I've gone out on the street and asked for people, complete strangers, to give me money. I've given away money. I've gone on live with no one watching. I've gone on live with hundreds of people watching. Like, I've been in love. I've had heartbreak. I've set boundaries. I've failed to set boundaries. I've been a mess. I've done all the things. I've felt all the things. And here I am, shining, thriving, loving. And so are you. David Nagel did so many things. David Nagel gave me a framework for teaching sales, very similar to lots of other people's frameworks. But the thing about David that was so fun was that he was just like cutting through the bullshit. Like, he gave me permission to try on very different behaviors, very different words, very different responses than I would have otherwise. We in the first group program that I was in a program with him called Make Money Your Bitch. This was almost 4 years ago. 6-month program. We had one exercise for the whole 6 months, which was kind of awesome, by the way, but shocking. It was an expensive program, and like people weren't doing the exercise. This is amazing to watch people pay almost $20,000 for one exercise and not do the exercise. And so we'd get on the calls with him. There were training calls where he would just teach, follow up, give us more support. And then there were Q&A calls. And on the Q&A calls, if we didn't have questions, he'd end the call. And I was like, I've never seen anyone do this. You know, as a school teacher, like a year before this happened. So I was used to going to office hours. I'd be there the whole time. Right? Math class, whether they have questions or not, I was required to be there the whole time. I had never experienced this kind of like, not wasting my time. What? So of course I had a question every time because I was question asker at the time. And I would always ask a question, but sometimes I was the only person who asked a question. And then he'd end the call and it would be like, all right, like, okay. Oh, fire. So boundaries, I got boundaries from him. I got this kind of unapologetic, it wasn't even that pokey. He wasn't like trying to be like a jerk or be provocative. He was just holding clear, like, I'm not working harder than you all. You need support? Ask me a question. You don't have any questions? Great. Good job. He had a business worth aspiring to. I think that that's one of the things that I'm like most grateful for. Of all the things that David taught me, it was just witnessing him in his business, doing his thing. And actually, in the lens of trust, I think that this is like, it took me a while to fully get the memo on this one as well. Because for a long time, I just wanted to have a business just like David, which was another form of not trusting myself, not trusting my vision, not trusting my own transmission, my own purpose, using David's to try to model mine. It seems like a good strategy. It, you know, like intellectually, it sort of makes sense. Like you don't need to reinvent the wheel. But I had to let go a lot. I would say I had to let go altogether of anything about David's business that was like trying to emulate that, and keep coming back to myself. What does my business want to look like? Very tender. It's very tender. And I needed apparently quite a few years in order to find that in myself. When I look back on it now, I think I got lots of nuggets. It's not like it was like flat line and then all of a sudden up level. It was an exponential growth process. And now looking back, it's like, oh, holy fucking shit, guys. I trust myself. And I didn't before. I felt like a child before, even though I was 36 by the time I met David. I felt like a child, looking for parents, looking for authorities to tell me what to do. And David let me hire him, but refused to play that role. Refused to play dad, refused to play parent. Demanded that I show up as an adult and receive support as an adult from my strength, from my foundation. Hi, Sarah. David is one of the most brilliant human beings I've ever known. I'm so, so, so grateful that he's in the world. There was a turning point I went to all his events for years. He does a bunch of live events, or now they're all virtual, but when they were live, you know, I'd be traveling to wherever he was 6, 10 times a year, 12 times a year. And just kind of following him around. And I saw him talk about his relationship to his mentor almost for sure, every time. Congratulations, Sarah, for a sales call. And I'm bringing this in because I think it's important to acknowledge lineage, to acknowledge ancestry. This is a different kind of ancestry. We don't have any blood ties, but David's mentor said yes to change, said yes to growth, and as a result, when David met his mentor, David was able to say yes. David's story is great. If you want to learn more about his story, listen to his podcast, The Successful Mind. He tells his story. In short, he was first worked minimum wage on a forklift, then had this huge realization and ended up getting a job that paid 3 times his income, like overnight, tripled his income, trucking, driving gasoline. And then started his own business and then built it to multi-million dollars. Because David said yes. My first coach, Marla, said yes. Because Marla said yes, I said yes. Because I said yes, you guys that are here, some of you have said yes. Some of you will say yes. Some of you are saying yes in other ways. To acknowledge the lineage of yes, the lineage of growth, the lineage of mastery. We're tapping into something greater than ourselves. Again, this lineage is a tool, a scaffold, an extra support as we learn to trust ourselves, as we learn to truly grow up and claim our maturity, our adulthood, our personal responsibility. Why do you think people are living like victims in the world, feeling like life is being done to them? Because they haven't actually grown up. They're coming by it honestly. There's no real rituals. I mean, matriculation, graduation, they're rituals, but I don't think they mean a lot to most people. And if you go through graduation and then you move back in with your parents, it's not necessarily doing the job. There's an energetic and emotional shift that needs to happen. And all my teachers, including my parents, did contribute to this happening. And I want to give this today's focus of shout out is for David, because it is because of him and his team and our work together that I have grown up, that I have learned to trust myself and stepped out into the world in this enormous, brave, vulnerable way, knowing that it's an unconditional. I don't expect that everything is going to be free and easy. I know that things will be challenging. I know that I'm going to be confronted. I know that contrast is here. That's not different. What's different is that I know I can support myself through it. So almost everything I've said today is really entirely about myself. This is a very personal testimonial for David too. And I'm sharing this because I think that this is today in particular, I wanted to kind of open up the underbelly and reveal something, because I truly believe that this is what's here for all of us. And it's important to tell the stories. It's important to talk about it. It's important to talk about the before and after. It's important to talk about how it changed. It's important to talk about the truth that it has changed. And invite you all to step into knowing the truth of the trust you already have. And build on it. Invest in this. You trusting yourself is the most valuable thing. And so again, like having shared these things about David, like I'm so grateful that I invested almost $500,000 in coaching programs with David Nagel. Is worth every penny. And as a result, I totally can make. I have never made $500,000 in a month, but we're getting there. We'll get there, right? Drop in the bucket in the long term. That money, which seems so wildly out of reach to me in the beginning, I now trust that I can make that kind of money in a very short period of time. And the deeper truth is that what I'm most grateful for out of everything I learned with David is to trust myself. And that is the piece that really is the reason why I know I can make the money, because I trust myself to it's so funny. I'm like looking for language as we're here together. It's not really about trusting myself to do something, although that's a manifestation of it, I think. It's like it's a feeling. It's a feeling of resting in myself, going to myself. When things get tough, who do I go to? Me. Not in a defensive way, not like, oh my God, I'm all alone, I have to do it all by myself. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, like, I come home to me, and here I am waiting. I got you. I got you all day, every day, no matter what. Thank you, David. Thank you for everything. And you know that song, Alicia Keys, No One. I feel that way for my teachers, all of them, all of them. I am so fucking grateful for all my coaches, all my mentors, all my spiritual teachers. There's nothing that can happen, past, present, or future, that will change my love and gratitude for my teachers. Nothing. No one. Doesn't matter what the form of it is. Maybe David and I will become besties down the road. Who knows? Maybe we will never speak. Not that we'll never speak, but like maybe our paths will diverge. We won't see each other that much. It doesn't matter. He has my heart, love, trust, faith, like stamp of enthusiastic testimony forever. Nothing can take it away. Really appreciating you all. Really loving you all. Really championing you, knowing the truth of who you are, knowing how worthy you are of your own trust. And looking forward to our next installment.